Sorry, but there will be no debates and no questions or answers for the candidates. Today we'll be hearing from candidates running for the School Board District 4 and 5, Clerk of Court, Chief Magistrate, and the Sheriff. We'll be starting with the School Board District 4, Frederick Kittle.
Thank you. How y'all doing?
Good.
I've joined one of these fraternities where I need these to read. So. One of the things I love about where we live, it's like if I forget my glasses and you go to a restaurant or whatever, people are just always, trying to understand. But getting started here, first I'd like to thank y'all for letting me go first. I've got a meeting at 2 for the College and Career Academy. I just kind of wanted to start out and just kind of say Apollo 11. How many people remember that we sent men to the moon and brought them back again? And see, isn't that awesome? At that time period, we watched it on TV. I remember my 3rd grade class, they brought in the TV and we all watched that. Well, at that time, the United States set the standard on education worldwide. Bill Gates, we all know who Bill Gates is, right? Did you know that Bill Gates can teach at any college or technical school in Georgia? Did you know that Bill Gates cannot teach at a class in a K through 12 because he doesn't have the certification? But there is a solution, and one of the things that I'm thinking that we need to do more of is outside of the box solutions, and I'll give you an example of that. How many people here have heard of the Bartow County College and Career Academy? Got a few, of course. I know y'all have heard of it. Well, this is an example of the school system partnering up with the community. We have businesses, industries, Chattahoochee Tech, Georgia Highland. There's over 100 members on the committees. You got Janet Queen that's over the needs assessment. You got Rick Koloff over the charter. And what's so awesome about this is that students, that when they go there, we have a real needs in the workforce right now. So what's so cool about this, students can go over and they can either, if they're taking a technical path or a college path, they'll be, say, for example, there was an instance when we were at one of our meetings where somebody was looking for 20 welders, where there's just not that people now tend to be going just for the college paths and not the technical. Well, these are really nice, high-paying jobs, and they're going unfilled. And this needs assessment, it covers many, many different industries from hospitality to college and technical. And a good example, I don't know how many of y'all know Barry Lattermill. I was at one of his functions, and he was talking about Cisco and Microsoft, and that's where I got the Bill Gates thing. They were talking about how they would love to be able to come into the school system to help certify kids. They could come out and be making a lot of money, but they're not allowed to go in there. Well, one of the neat things about this College and Career Academy, the group that we put in here, and I'll just find it here for you because I thought this was pretty awesome because we're thinking outside the box here. Certification may not be required for a career technical teaching position as long as appropriate work experience is substituted. And it would need approval from the board and the state board, but that is thinking outside the box and trying to help our kids and students. Forgive me for my fumbling around here. And I'd also like to see us go one step further. With the building of all these new schools that we're building, we have these old buildings and stuff that we have to maintain. Well, I was talking with one of the board members from Chattahoochee Tech, and we were just kind of talking, so I don't know how far this will go, but it was such a neat idea. What if, when your students went to high school, what if at graduation, not only did they get their high school diploma, but they also got their associate's degree? Currently in our system, you can get up to a year of college if you have the SAT scores and you have the grades, you can get a year. But what if you made some kind of deal or trade or some kind of agreement for either leasing, just say like the old cast that has, has a football field that I'm sure they would, love to have, and they could have Chattahoochee Tech could have a school in town. You could also So you could keep it college and technical. You could do some rooms over, make some kind of deals with Georgia Highlands. But what if the students could go there and be getting their technical or college degrees, a 2-year degree, while they're in school? That would save, money for the parents, and that would save the cost of the running of the place if they took up all those costs. And also, there's such a need. The business community is jumping in on a lot of these things. For example, I know Georgia Power is donating or loaning some equipment for the College and Career Academy, and I suspect there'll be a lot of other things similar to that going on. And just kind of another thing, like when it comes to budgets, we all know with falling values of real estate, etc., it puts a lot of pressure on the counties and the schools for the revenues. Well, kind of thinking outside the box again, like with this College and Career Academy, you have so many people involved from different business and industries. What if you took key stakeholders to help, like Todd with the school system, to help look at the budget? And an example of this, as some of you know, I was the chamber chairman last year, but somewhere in there we found that we were actually paying for a phone to a building we no longer were at, and this has been for years and years. So what if you get other eyes, like a Mike Murphy, who we always say he found the snow blowers for Home Depot in Florida and all that, but he saved Home Depot a lot of money just by looking at that. So what if you get key people from the community and stakeholders to look at that, to help with the budget and make it a bit more transparent? I always get this question, I guess, and how do I feel, about local control? And I do believe in local control. I do believe that parents are about as local as you can get. So I do believe that, parents are the ultimate authority. I believe, of course, we have to follow the state and federal laws, etc. But I do need the teachers are under just a lot of pressure with a lot of these regulations. Like, for example, in the Race to the Top, I believe it's like getting kindergartens can assess their teachers, and that's just kind of, to me, some of that's just silly, the extra work that they put on the folks. I guess somebody told me this. I guess this is accurate. I guess, what are my qualifications? I have 30 years of experience in the private sector. Most of those years was with Graybar Electric, working in various roles and in sales. I work for Wesco now. I was recognized by the state of Georgia for many decades, and I'm just quoting it, many decades of efficient, effective, unselfish service to the cities or the citizens of the community in the state of Georgia. I served as the team leader for Georgia Work Ready. This community came together in such a big way. I don't want to make it sound like I did this. It was really the team that we put together, but we were able to, out of 159 counties, we were number 2, and actually, if you look at the numbers, I really believe we were number 1, and that was because we had the buy-in from the community and the businesses and the industries and the school systems. I was chairman of the Cartersville Bartow County Chamber of Commerce in 2011. Again, all the successes we have, I owe that to having such a really great board, and we all worked together on that, and we circled the wagons. If you'll notice the thermometers out there, we tackled unemployment, trying to get people to buy here, hire here, etc. And as you can tell from the surrounding counties, that did make a difference. I can go, I guess, education. I graduated FT Wills in Smyrna, Georgia. I got, I guess, the most efficient officer award as company commander in ROTC, one of 400 Georgia students, Georgia Boys State, and I won't worry with all this other, but a graduate of Louisiana Tech. There, a group of us decided we wanted the best fraternity, which at the time was Delta Kappa Epsilon, which some of y'all know that from, it has the most presidents, etc., and all that. So we formed a colony, and I was the president of the colony, and then we became a chapter. Personal and family background. My father was a captain in the Air Force. He was killed in the Tet Offensive in 1968. My mom never remarried. Met my wife at Louisiana Tech, Lynn Kittle. We've got 6 kids. We've got 3 of them at Georgia Highlands, we've got one that she's not sure what she wants to do. She's just like her dad, I guess. And then I've got my youngest is over at Woodland Middle. And basically, I just kind of wrote down some of the goals as a school board member. Of course, we know we need to implement federal, district, and state policies. The key, I think, is innovative approaches to solve concerns and problems within the system. We need to unify consensus with the community, staff, and school board members' input. And really, I guess that's pretty much what I have to say. If anybody can catch me if they want to ask me more questions. Thank you. There you go.
The next office we'll be hearing from is the clerk of court, and up first is Gary Bell.
Everybody hear me?
Yes.
Is that better? Okay. I know a few folks in this room, so I thank everybody for coming and your willingness to listen to the candidates here and what they have to say. My name is Gary Bell. I'm presently your clerk of Superior Court. I've been your clerk for the last 12 years, and I am running for re-election. That's obvious. But just to give you just a little bit of background, where I came from, why I want to get re-elected, and why I want to keep working for you. Lisa is my wife. There's some folks in here that know my wife. She works for the city school system, and she's over the foundation there and the gatekeep program for some kids that are in need at the school. My career started out early. I started policing at an early age. I worked in the criminal side of that for about 13 years. Then I moved over to the civil side. I was in planning and zoning. I stayed in the civil court for almost 8 years. And then I ran for the clerk of Superior Court office in 2000. And I was lucky enough for the citizens of this county to vote me in for that. So I've been entrusted with that office since then. We try to do the best job we can do. I'm not going to get up here and take a lot of your time, but just to give you a background, I've been in court a very long time, since I will be 50 this year, and I've been in court since I was about almost turning 20. So I've had a long session through different sides of court. I've actually had the privilege to prosecute cases, being an investigator with the sheriff's office. We did child molestation, sex crimes and stuff. There's some awful things you had to work with, well, along with all the other cases we had to prosecute there. And then on the civil side, like in planning and zoning, you'll be hearing from the commissioners, I think, later on this week or tomorrow. I work for the Commissioner then, which is still the Commissioner now, Clarence Brown, on that. And we stayed in civil court for almost 8 years with that. So now I've been the clerk of Superior Court for 12 years. So it just gives you a little background of where I'm from. And we have a great staff, so we try to help the folks that come into our office. Everything in our office has been upgraded, and I know you're going to hear about budget and technology and everything and cutting the budget. And our budget is dictated on how much court we have going and stuff. We don't have any unnecessary waste or spending, but I just want to let you know that. And basically, that's about. I'm going to wrap it up and give these folks here time to speak. But I would ask for your vote. Early voting's in now, and the election's on July the 31st. Some of y'all folks just wish to vote on election day. I'm one of those folks. I just want to vote on election day. But I know we can't ask and answer questions here. That's fine. But I don't think there's anything else I need to say other than I'm just running for re-election. Thank y'all very much.
And up next, running for clerk, Melba Scoggins.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. My name is Melba Scoggins, and I am your best candidate for clerk of court. I'm going to begin with telling you about myself and my family. My name is Melba Scoggins. I was raised in Fairmount, but I married a gentleman from Bartow County, Myron Scoggins. We have been married 30 years last month. So I have about got him trained, but I'm going to hold on to it. But me and Myron live in Rival, Georgia. His family has roots in Pine Lawn, and we've always been raised there. I believe Andy lives up there our way. But Highmark is a good place, and Bartow County is a great place to live. I was honored enough to be a county employee. I have worked at the courthouse for 30 years. I was recently honored by Clarence Brown. Me and Myron have two daughters, Morgan and Mallory. Mallory's a Kennesaw State student who's still working. My daughter Morgan recently married Matt King, and he is from the Daresville area. I started working in 1981. That's the year Frank Moore came in office. I believe Mr. Woodrow Bradley was clerk, and he retired at that time. What I have found during this election is the clerk is accountable to the people, you, as well as your sheriff, your tax commissioner, and your county commissioner. What I've found is most people know who the tax commissioner is because you have to take that dreaded check to him. Everyone knows who the sheriff is. He wants to know what's going on in the crime in our county. Everyone loves Clarence Brown, hates to see him step down. There are many people trying to fill his shoes. But what I find is most people don't know who the clerk is or what the clerk's duties are. The clerk is the organizer of the court records. We have records back to the 1800s. Old courthouse used to be in Cassville. There are records where the deed books are slashed by Sherman coming through. We still preserve those records. I think some of them are donated to the Etowah Valley Historical Society at this time. But it is the job of the clerk to preserve the records, old and future. Technology has taken it to a new level, but that is the job of the clerk. You don't really interact with the clerk unless you're on jury duty or filing a deed. The clerk also has lawsuits, criminal records. All those go through our office. I am delighted to have Greg Culverhouse as my chairperson. Along with him, I have Blaine McMillan as my county treasurer. I have worked for not only one clerk, I have worked for 3 clerks. I began working for Bud Jefferson back in 1981. I'm sorry, it was 84, losing track of time. Mr. Jefferson gave me a job right out of high school. Then I had the honor of working for Tish Johnson. Tish Johnson was a fabulous role model for me, and that's one of the reasons I'm here today. I believe the office needs leadership skills. I believe I'm the person with the experience and the skills to do that job. Clerk has to be in attendance in all court hearings, and we have court day and night. We have jury trials every month. I know 2 judges are probably on the bench today. For those who don't know, court can be the best show in town. We have comedy, we have drama, and sometimes we have a little suspense. I believe our clerks should be a role model, be at work, and set a high standard for their employees. I believe they should be there for the taxpayers. From time to time, I have been very concerned about the day-to-day office, and at this time, I have placed myself as a candidate. I'm not going to dwell on the office, but for the first 15 years, I worked with the same staff. Since the current administration, I've had 17 personnel changes. After 27 years, I know the job, I know the day-to-day operations. After 27 years, I have the skill and background to serve you. I think I am the most experienced person for this job. Today, I give you myself as a candidate for clerk of court. I vow to be at work. I vow to make the office more customer friendly. I vow to be courteous and efficient. I would like to have a human being answer phones, not a recording. That is frustrating to so many people that you can't get a human being on the phone. I will change that. Most importantly, I'd love to have your trust and your vote and your prayers July the 31st. Thank you for your time.
Next, we'll be hearing from candidates for the Chief Magistrate. Paul Nally is running. He will not be here today. His wife called and said that he is having a heart cath today, so he will not be here. But the first one we'll be hearing from is Marlon Haney.
Thank you again. And I am Marlon Haney, and I'm running for Chief Magistrate Judge. Some of you may know me, some of you may not know me, but I've been called the jailhouse preacher for many years. You asked me how I got that title. Well, in 1979, I started ministering in the county jail. In 1980, my oldest sister was murdered, and I wound up ministering to the guy that killed her. But I have had the opportunity of working with 3 different sheriffs, from Buddy Bell to Don Thurman to Clark Millsap. And I'm excited about running for office. I've always wanted to. I thought about it. Started out many years ago putting out campaign signs for Olin Tatum, and way back in the 60s and 70s. And like I said, I'm excited. But I'm a lifelong resident of Bartow County. I'm a graduate of Cass High School in 1974. I work right now with Southern Machine and Fabrication as a millwright. And like I said, I decided to run for this office out of a deep desire to further serve my community, to bring professionalism and fairness to this non-honesty to the position of Chief Magistrate. I'm not here to badmouth the Chief Magistrate now. I believe that Tom Mosley is a great guy, but I believe it's time for a change. And I believe that Marlon Haney is the man. If you would, I appreciate your vote July 31st. Thanks, and God bless all y'all.
Next for Chief Magistrate will be Tom Mosley.
These things make me nervous. Is anybody having a problem hearing me? Okay, well, good afternoon. I appreciate you having me here, giving me an opportunity to speak to you this afternoon. I'm a lifelong resident of Bartow County. I went to the Cartersville City School System. I'm an honorably discharged veteran. I have a business administration degree from Reinhardt College. I've got a law degree from John Marshall Law School in 1980. I ran a small business, TNS Appliance Repair, here for 20 years. I was elected Chief Magistrate in 1996. I've spent the last 16 years here. And I'd like to thank each one of you for the trust you've shown in allowing me to continue. Out of breath here today. But when I was elected in 1996, or I was elected in 96, took office January 1st, 1997. In 96, they handled 2,400 civil cases in the Magistrate Court of Bartow County. In 2011, we did 5,600 with the same staff. No increase. Since 2008, our budget has been reduced by $50,000 a year. I came in $60,000 under budget last year. At the end of May this year, I'm $17,000 under budget for this year. My budget went up $8,000. That was a result of increases in employee costs to the county that I have no control over. Our income to the county from our services amounts to anywhere from $21,000 to $27,000 a month. Doesn't come anywhere near covering our budget, but it reduces the expense to the taxpayer. In 16 years, I've never been over budget one time. So, I'd like to continue as your Chief Magistrate. I think the experience I have, not only as your Chief Magistrate, but with my legal education, my business education, my experience running a small business here in Bartow County, I'm your best qualified candidate. I think if you have ever dealt with my office, you'll find that it is fair, it is courteous, it is professional. And I would like to ask today that you would continue to grant me your support. I would like to ask for your vote. I would appreciate your prayers and support from now until Election Day and especially on July 31st. Thank you for your time.
Next, we're going to be hearing from School Board District 5, and up first is Anna Sullivan.
Thank you for allowing me to talk with y'all today. Even though I was appointed to our Board of Education in February, and I've been involved in our schools for the past decade, I know that I'm meeting most, if not all of you, for the very first time today. And it's my pleasure to tell you about my experience and why I believe I'm the best person for this position. My family and I live in Adairsville. We're just a short distance away from the house where I grew up and where my parents still live. I'm married to Robert Sullivan, who's a local family physician in Adairsville. I went through the Adairsville schools and graduated from Adairsville High School. I attended Mercer University on an athletic academic scholarship, and after I graduated with honors, I later received a Master of Education and completed coursework toward a doctorate at Vanderbilt University. During the last debates, I told several people that I've been very fortunate in having the family that I've had, but that I really thought that I hit the jackpot when it came to my community. Throughout my life, there have been pastors, teachers, coaches, ministers, 4-H leaders, and other people who had my best interest at heart. They helped me to grow up. They helped me get my first jobs. They took an interest in my family, and they took an interest in me. And that's why Robert and I believed that it was important to raise our children here. When we came back here, it was by design, and our children have attended the public schools throughout their time since kindergarten. Professionally, I spent many years working in colleges and universities where I was responsible for raising millions of dollars in private funds for scholarships and general operating budgets. I was also responsible for developing the primary communications tools for some of the best institutions in our state: Mercer University, Georgia State University, and Berry College. And I worked with them during some of the greatest growth periods of their time. Our alumni populations range from about 90,000 at Georgia State University to about 35,000 at Mercer and Berry. Our student populations range from just a few thousand to more than 26,000. During those years, I helped to reduce expenses when those institutions experienced cutbacks. But I also helped to develop major fundraising bases when Georgia State University realized that they needed to go beyond their financial base, beyond the public funding that they had been allocated, and establish private fundraising. I also worked at Mercer University in their medical school when they decided to answer the need for physicians in rural and underserved areas of Georgia. Over the last 10 years and up to today, I've been a highly involved parent in my children's education. We waited for 14 years before we had a family. And when my children came along, I knew that that was probably the highest calling that I could have, would be to stay home and focus my education and my energy on them and our community. When some friends suggested that I consider applying to the appointment for the board in December, I realized that much of my professional and personal experiences had helped prepare me for that goal. During the time that I have been in our schools, I've seen firsthand the challenges that we face. Now, I know it's ironic. We all share the same experience of going to school, and we all think that that's all the same, but it really isn't. Most of us have probably gone right here in Bartow County or Georgia, but schools of today are not the schools of yesterday. We still learn to read and to calculate math problems, but our schools are expected to answer many more needs than we used to, and we face enormous social challenges in the face of trying to meet those needs. My father, who's 91, used to walk to the old Barnsley schools, and he carried his lunch, I think, wrapped up in either brown paper or wax paper, one or the other. Schools today provide not only lunch, but also breakfast, because we have a federal mandate to do so, but also because we recognize that we still have children who come to school with needs and are hungry before they start their day. In addition, I know teachers who have been asked to sacrifice their own personal incomes through furloughs and through budget cuts, but who also have taken money from their own pockets to provide food for children on weekends and provide classroom supplies for students in their classrooms. They do this on a daily basis because they care about the students they teach. When I attended school, there was never a day in first grade. I'm sorry. When I felt so stressed over CRCT that I burst into tears because I thought my teacher would get in trouble if I failed. I've hugged a kid who was crying in first grade because they were so terrified of taking a test because they thought their teacher would be fired. When my own children started school, computers were a fun item, but they weren't the expectation for excellence that they are today. In fact, this year's graduating class experienced every single educational innovation of the past decade. Yet our schools since 2008 have experienced budgetary cuts that total just over $50 million. It's easy to balance budgets and get great results in boom years. But it's a different story when we're living through some of the greatest fiscal challenges since the Great Depression. In spite of this, our schools have improved their test results and graduation rates on a regular basis, and they continue to make gains. One of the things that's bothered me the most over the past several years as I've been in the schools and I've seen our teachers, talked with them, worked with them, and know what they're doing in our schools, has been the constant characterization of our schools as failures. If any of you attended schools, public schools in Georgia, you know what I'm talking about. When I look at you, and I look at this room, I don't see a room full of failures. I see people who have the same worries about paying your taxes, about caring for your children, and about helping your community that I have. I think that the only way that we can meet the challenges of our future is if we work together in our community to find the best means possible to do that. The pace of change in education will only accelerate in the future, and we have to be able to change with it. We should honor the accomplishments of the past, yes, I agree, but we also need to learn from the mistakes of that past. We can't always seek short-term fixes while ignoring the need for long-term solutions. Having a bridge for buses is wonderful. Having safe access at all points to our schools is even better. Since I've been on the board, I've continued to add to my academic knowledge and my professional experience to become the best board member possible. I've also been in the community, talking to people like you and listening to your concerns. Being a strong board member requires more than just having a heart for children. Care and concern for our community are certainly part of what we need. But we also need long-range perspectives on solving the very pressing policy issues and physical challenges that we're facing. I believe my background in education enables me to take that long view. And I know that my professional experience helping to lead major public and private institutions has given me the creative, practical, and diplomatic skills that we need in our schools today. Most of all, my grassroots experience within the schools, serving in a variety of leadership positions, qualifies me uniquely to understand the challenges that our schools, our teachers, and our administrators face on a daily basis. It's this combination of professional background, educational training, and personal interest that no other individual brings to this board. When I think about education in our community, I know that we're not building pallets, we're building people. And when I look at our schools, I don't see problems, I see possibilities. It's been an honor to bring my skills and my talents to the board through my appointment. It would be a privilege to continue to serve the children and families of Bartow County if you see fit to elect me. I hope you will consider me for your vote in the special election and the primary on July 31st.
Up next for School Board District 5, Greg Bowen.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here today. I've just been trying to get out and see as many groups as I possibly can so that I can talk about my vision for our Bartow County School Board and mainly how it affects you. A lot of people I've talked to before we got settled in today, and I've heard many times, well, school board doesn't really affect me. I don't have any kids in the school system. But it does. It affects every person in Bartow County. A lot of people here know me, but some don't. I'm president over by Folsom out of Adairsville. I went to school, my wife, my 2 kids all went to Adairsville High School. We've lived in the community well, they've lived there forever. I came in 1973. And I've served on the school board before. I'm a past board chair, so I have experience in the actual day-to-day. A lot of people ask me, well, school board, what are you going to do? What we do is we are responsible for setting policy. And one of the biggest policy issues that we ran into when I was on the board was about how we police ourselves. One of the things that we did when I was on there is we put a policy in about you can't work for the system and be on the board. I hope to adjust that policy and go back to it again and what we didn't do is put a time limit of how long you had to be off the board before you could go to work. We've had, the reason this special election is going on, we've had a board member representing Adairsville to step off and take a position in the school system. I disagree with that. I think you're using your position to gain an advantage on other applicants when you do that. Another thing that board does is we approve budget and help set budget. When I was on the school board before, we did manage to cut the millage rate. Actually, the last 3 years out of 4. The first year we held it the same. We also built up a general fund balance to the legal limit at the time. And that's why the school board for the last 3 years hasn't had to raise millage rate or change any of that, because they've been using the general fund balance that we put in savings for them while I was on there. This year, the budget that we just saw pass, they're spending $6 million over budget. And everybody in here knows you cannot spend more money than you're bringing in for a continued basis. When you spend all your savings, you're going to have problems. So I think that the board needs someone that understands how to deal with budgets. I've been on 2 bank boards as a director, own my own business, and as I said, I've served on the school board before. I used to be the chair of the Good Shepherd Foundation here in Cartersville. Just many things I could go on about, but it's not about me. It's about what I can hopefully do to help this board accomplish the goals that we all want. And there's a difference between having a lot of skill set and being an effective board member, because I'm 1 vote out of 5, and so you have to have the ability to get the other board members to buy in to the vision that you have. As I said, when I was passed on the board before, I was the board chair, and so that shows I had that leadership ability. I was out front, I got here a little early, and I picked up the paper, and the first thing I read on the paper was School Board Chair Response to Criticism. We all know that there's a lot of criticism of the school board now. There's a lawsuit against my opponent, and there's Sachs investigation. There's a lot of issues. I think that with my past experience, I will be able to be a calming influence, that I will be able to get the board to work together, and hopefully we'll get the community behind us and be proud of the image that we present. Because, as was said before, the morale of the teachers, nobody wants everybody running around saying that our school system's a failure. This is important to senior citizens also, because if we don't have a good school system, businesses aren't going to come into our community. And we need those businesses to come in. That's going to increase the quality of life for everyone, your children, your grandchildren, and the generations to come before. Also, we need safe schools. If we don't have the right policy set, the next thing you know, with some of the surrounding counties, they have troubles with gangs and that kind of stuff. So we need to make sure we have the leadership in place to prevent any of these issues that we see at other schools coming into our community. I appreciate you listening to me. I would love to take questions outside if you have any. I have some yard signs. But most of all, I want you to consider voting for me for your representative for our school board. And if you're not in our district, please call some of your friends, tell them what you've heard today, and ask them to vote. Thank you.
office that will be speaking today is the Sheriff's Office, and up first is Dan Knowles.
Good afternoon. I am Dan Knowles, and I am running for Sheriff of Bartow County. I'll start off by talking about myself a little bit. I moved here when I was 12 years old in 1980. Started at that middle school, which is now Stars Pre-K, right across the highway here. Graduated from Cass in 1985. When we moved here, my dad worked for Chemical Products and worked there for almost 30 years, and my mom worked for the Daily Tribune and for the newspaper. But I graduated in 85. I met my high school sweetheart when I was 14 at that school, and we've been married. Next week will be 24 years, and my mother-in-law is sitting right back there, Pat Freeman. So I'd say, hey, Grandma. In 94, we moved back home after I got out of the Army, right next door to Grandma, and live over here in Cassville ever since. But after Cass High, I jokingly say I'm one of the smartest cops you'll ever meet. I had a full scholarship to Georgia Tech, so for you Georgia fans, don't hold that against me. My wife has a master's from Georgia, so I can cheer for both teams if I need to. But after a year at Georgia Tech, I knew that I wasn't mature enough or prepared enough to stay at Georgia Tech. So I did the best decision I ever made was I joined the U.S. Army and spent just under 6 years active duty in the Army. Got out of the Army and started working as a jailer in the city of Augusta, and then eventually moved to the patrol division. But I knew I wanted to move my family back home, so that's when we moved here back home in '94. After I moved home, I worked for the Floyd County Police for several years. Got ran over by a drunk driver. I don't mean like I was in my car and the drunk driver hit me. I mean the car like went over me. And so I spent quite a while doing some medical rehab time and walked around with my canes and my leg braces. But I knew I wanted to stay in law enforcement. I wanted to do something different. So I started working in the schools. And for the last 7 years, I've been the chief of police here in Bartow County for the campus police. So I've been responsible for almost 14,000 kids now for 7 years. That's 20 campuses, 28,000 parents, and all the traffic to go with it. So you will actually see me directing traffic, taking my turn out in front of Cass High School or Cloverleaf or Woodland Mill and other places whenever it's needed. But on my education, once I came back and moved back home, I started at Floyd College, working full-time and going to school. Had my associates in criminal justice. I was an honor graduate from Floyd College, and I currently serve on their alumni board. And then after coming into this job, I went back to school at Shorter, and I have a degree in management. So, and that's one of the things I feel that I can bring to the Sheriff's Department is I have a degree in management and also management experience with the school system. When I took over as the chief of police for the school system, my budget was 50% over budget. I came in to buy me some uniforms, and they said, well, you owe us money. You can't buy any uniforms. But since then, and working with the administration there and other departments, I've developed a good working budget, and every year been under budget anywhere from 15 to 18%. Matter of fact, this coming year, we went line item by line item, and we cut out 20% of my budget for next year. And I will guarantee that I will be under budget again. But people ask why you want to run for sheriff, and even my father-in-law says, why the heck you want to take that on? I've known the sheriff for several years and his family. Matter of fact, my mother-in-law taught him in school. I'm sure probably his mother made food for my wedding, and probably so. So it's nothing personal against the sheriff. We've worked well together since I've been with the school system. It's just about me running for sheriff. I felt, I haven't put my finger exactly on what that is that pushed me out to throw my hat in. I said that if I ever run for sheriff, certain things had to be in place. And one of the biggest ones being I still serve in the National Guard, and I was deployed overseas in 2008. And one of the things I said is I don't think I could efficiently serve as a sheriff if I had a chance of being deployed again. I didn't think it was fair for me to be away from the office. So that domino fell. I got a notice in November that my unit will be deactivating due to federal budget cuts. And since I have over 20 years of service, then I will be retiring. So after the first of the year, I'll be retiring from the National Guard. That was a big one, but I can't put my finger on it. I don't know if it was a voice speaking to me or that human drive to take that next step, or if it was the Lord speaking to me. But something was telling me it was time for me to put my hat in the ring. And so that's why I'm running for sheriff. What I see for the sheriff's department, I'd like to see under my guidance a more community contact, more community involvement. I'd like to see a Scared Straight program, because I deal with these kids every day with the school system that doesn't seem that they know what their actions could lead to, how it could affect their future life. So if we can, get some sort of program so they see what can happen to them by making those bad choices early on, that we can deter some of that for their future. Another thing I'd like to put in place is a system that the Floyd County Sheriff has. It's called Are You OK? And it's an automated calling system for folks who are homebound or disabled or don't have that way for people to come and check on. It's an automated system. You sign up for it. It will call your house every day at a certain time, and you have to pick up and actually answer. If you don't answer, it calls back again 45 minutes to an hour later. If still no answer, somebody will be dispatched to that home to check on that person. And it's geared for folks who don't have somebody that's constantly taking care of them, constantly checking on them. And like I said, the sheriff of Floyd County put that in place, and I think it's a great idea, because if it just saves one life, it's been worth it. It cost about $3,000 to put in place. And after that, it's just a matter of somebody keeping up with the data. And what he has is somebody that's actually sitting on shift at the jail with a computer monitor next to him, and it alerts him when it didn't make contact. And it's just a matter of a phone call saying, hey, send somebody out there. Another thing, fiscal responsibility. I think every penny should be accounted for, wherever that penny goes. It's your money. You should know where it goes. And through social media and internet and other venues, I'll put that budget right on the screen where you can click and see it. You can see where it's going. And it may not have every person that the money went to, but it'll have every category, what was there, what's left. If you want to see anything past that, you just contact us and we'll send it to you. Proactive policing. I'm a very proactive police officer. I jokingly say, I want to get them before they do it to us. And there's several, I can talk nuts and bolts with you about numerous ways to do that, but that's what I want to see. But that's me in a nutshell. I ask for your support, for your prayers, and for your vote. You can early vote now or July 31st. Thank you.
Last candidate to be speaking today is Clark Millsap for sheriff.
I don't think I'll need that. My mom always told me I had a big mouth. And I'm sure Miss Freeman will probably tell you I had a big mouth back in the 3rd grade. Ladies and gentlemen, for those of you that don't know me, I am Clark Millsap, and I am your sheriff, and I've been your sheriff for the last 12 years. I'm a lifelong resident of Bartow County. I'm 50 years old, I will admit it. I don't look 50 though, do I? I'm just kidding. I'm joking. I'm married to Lori Millsap. She may be some of your medical providers. She may be taking care of y'all better than she takes care of me, and I'm just kidding about that. Y'all don't go tell her that either, okay? I'm a 1980 graduate of Cass High School, a 1984 graduate with a Bachelor of Science degree in Criminal Justice from the University of West Georgia, with West Georgia College back then. I'm a 28-year law enforcement veteran, and all of it has been served here in Bartow County. As your sheriff at the sheriff's office, ladies and gentlemen, I think we've accomplished a lot in 12 years. I want to thank you for putting your faith and trust in me and the folks at the sheriff's office for the last 12 years. I ask you for the next 4 years to put your faith and trust in me again and let us keep moving forward. There's a lot of things we have accomplished, and I'll touch on just a couple of them. We've got more patrol officers on the road than we've ever had before. I think one of the things we need to look for in the future, and whoever the next commissioner is, good luck and God bless them, because they're going to have to try to find some money somewhere. Because as our population grows, so does crime grow. And as our population and crime grows, we need to increase our law enforcement force. And that's one of the things we're going to be trying to do with the sheriff's office as we go further. We've got an inmate paid estate plan. We implemented that shortly after I got elected. I didn't feel like it was the taxpayer's burden to pay for these people free medical care and whatever they've got in the jail. So now you've got a $5 copay, I guess you would call it. It's better than I've got, better than most of you got with your insurance. An inmate who has money on his books, it's $5 to see a doctor, $5 to see a nurse, and $5 for a prescription. At least we get some of the money back that it's cost us. It costs us anywhere from $30 to $35 a day to house an inmate. The state's only paying us $22. The cities are only paying us because they can't afford it, so the rest of it falls on us. One of the biggest things we've done now is, has anybody seen the monstrosity up on top of the hill up there? The addition. We finally got that thanks to you guys, and we've got it open and up and running. The old part of the jail is 20 years old, so we're revamping it, we're bringing it up to code, and it's going to take a little while. So we moved everybody to the new part of the jail. This sounds kind of crazy, but they think they're in the Hilton Hotel. Can't figure that out. They're still in jail, but they absolutely love this new jail. It's state of the art. If you haven't seen it, if you sat on grand jury and you've been through it, it's a great thing to see. The problem with going last in a forum like this, everybody wants you to hurry up and shut up, so I'm going to do that. I'd like to ask you for your prayers, your vote, and your support on July 31st. Keep moving forward with MillSouth, and thank you again for letting me be here.
And I would like to thank all the candidates for coming out and taking the time to talk to us. I want to thank all of you for coming out and listening. I want to remind you tomorrow at 1 o'clock we'll be listening to candidates running for tax commissioner and the county commissioner. But let's give another round of applause for all the candidates.